When you check out the bid example, there's a section you're going to find at the bottom called allowable fees. These are fees that are going to be paid to a third party that's outside of the contractor's control, but are required in order to get the project done. One of these things is potential permits. If you have HVAC, electric, plumbing, general construction permits, anything like that, that's a fee that's going to be paid to a third party as opposed to paid to the contractor. So that's going to be found at a bottom section. Lenders always like to see the permitting at the bottom so they know what permits are being pulled and how much that's going to cost. Another thing that you may run into, and some contractors do this, some contractors don't, and it also depends on the size of the project, is an architectural drawing. Sometimes drawings are needed in order to pull the permits, depending on which county you're in, and sometimes drawings aren't needed because the contractor knows what they're doing, or maybe the project's just relatively small and they won't be needed for that. So there's two different places that you can put the architectural drawings bid item on your bid. One of them is if the contractor is going to be producing those drawings, then that contractor is able to just go ahead and place it as a line item. Architectural drawings, labor cost, X. Then once the project starts, you can throw the architectural drawings piece into your first draw, and draws will go over here in a later module. The other option is if the architectural drawing must be done prior to. So let's say we're doing a larger reno, and in order to put together a proper bid, you need to have an architectural drawing done. Well, that client's going to have to pay anywhere between $800 and $2,500, depending on the size of the project, to have that architectural drawing taken place. Well, this is a fee that the lender knows is required in order to get the project done, so they are able to pay that client back for those fees. So this architectural drawing fee will be placed in the allowable fees section at the bottom. When you check out your example, you'll see that we have the entire bid and all of the line items, labor cost total, material cost total, and then a separate section where the permits and architectural drawings may go. There are a couple different things that may show up in the allowable section's location, but we don't need to cover those because it doesn't happen very often. This is a great example of a bid broken down into the proper format. As you can see, it goes room by room. We've got whole home, exterior, basement, kitchen. It goes line item by line item, framing new walls with 2x4 studs for architectural drawing, paint entire home, includes prime and finish coat, repainting all walls, trim, doors, and ceiling, paint color decided by client. Very descriptive, broken down, tells everybody exactly what's going on. And then over here, you see cost of material and cost of labor. Now, of course, these prices are much lower than they need to be, but they're just here to show you the point. So if you need to, refer back to this example. We're also going to have a click for you at the end where you can actually click on and view this format so you can see exactly how it reads, how it lays out, and know that your bid matches up and looks a lot similar. Not everyone, but some contractors out there, rather than putting their profit or their project management fees or any of the above into each line item, some contractors like to tell you exactly what each line item is going to cost, and then at the very bottom or maybe at the top, they put a project management fee, and they also put an overhead and profit fee, or one or the other. Everybody's a little bit different. So we wanted to cover those real quick. First of all, the project management fee, if you've got one of those, should be found under the whole house section. And under that whole house section, we want to be a little bit descriptive. Project management fee, estimated X amount of hours. In order to complete this project, project manager will oversee project and make sure that subs jobs are done promptly, on time, and be the quality control. Give it a description of some kind. That lender's going to want to see what the project manager's doing. And then, of course, on this one, there's going to be no material cost. It'll just be a labor cost. The other item that some contractors like to use is overhead and profit. Overhead and profit should, again, fall under the whole house category. This can either go at the top or the bottom. Depends on what your bid's looking like. It doesn't matter. And this one's relatively standard, relatively explanatory. This is the profit and overhead for the project. Not a huge description here. Again, no material. It's going to be a labor only. In some cases, there are very few, but some lenders who won't allow a project management or an overhead and profit number in the bid itself. those guys will require you to take those numbers or that number, whichever one you do, and disperse it amongst all of your line items. It's just how it goes. Some lenders require it, some lenders don't, but the minority are the ones who don't want to see a project management and an overhead and profit number. So more than likely, if that's the way that you write your bids with a project management number, overhead profit number, you're going to be good to go. In the cases that we need to float it out, we can help you with that. You can do it on your own, but we'll be sure to let you know. A few other notes to bring up, and these are just things that we've seen in the past that we've run into doing a bunch of these projects. We've done hundreds of these projects at this point. So we're just passing on notes that we're seeing from lenders to let you know what to put on there, or maybe what not to put on your bid. A payment schedule. So the way that these projects are paid is based on draws, or there's a specific way that that loan is going to be required, is going to require the contractor to be paid. So the payment schedule that you have on there is not the one that we're going to be following. We'll be following and learning about the draw module here before too long, and that goes over how you guys are paid. That being said, most contractors require a down payment. In this process, your money is placed in escrow, so you know it's there. You don't have to worry about there not being money to get you paid for your project. But most lenders will not do a down payment of any kind. Some will do a material draw payment where they're going to give you a percentage of the total material number that you've got, but don't count on it. Most projects don't get that first payment until you order your first draw. Again, we will go over draws in the next module so that you can learn about how payment works for these programs. The other thing that some lenders like to see, and we think it's a good idea to just go ahead and set expectations, is the timeline. So if you have any idea or an estimation on a projected timeline for your project, if you could add that somewhere on your bid, that'd be phenomenal. If you think it'll take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it might be, we always recommend that you guess a little longer. It's easier to So over the years of working with different lenders and doing hundreds of these projects, these are a couple things that pop up frequently that we want to just go ahead and point out to you right out of the gate. Some contractors like to put a payment schedule on their bid. In these instances, we will not be needing that. In a later module, we're going to go over the draw process. The draw process describes how you get paid depending on what kind of job it is. So, no draw schedule or no payment schedule needs to go on that bid because the client, the lender, and everybody knows there's a specific way that these jobs are paid, and we'll cover that in a later module. Oftentimes, contractors will put a down payment needed. On these projects, there is no down payment for 75% of them. On occasion, there's a lender that will allow a material draw at closing, which is going to give you a percentage of your total material number, but more often than not, don't expect any money to start the project. The good news is your money is going to be sitting in an escrow account waiting for you to just earn it. So once you complete your first draw, that's when you're going to be getting your first payment. And again, we're going to cover that in a later module. The last piece, and not all lenders require this, but we think it's a good way to let the lender know and then also set expectations to that client, is to put an estimated time of completion on your bid itself. If you think that that project's going to take you a month, tell the client it's going to be 6 weeks. If you think it's going to take 2 months, tell them maybe it's going to be 10 weeks. We always recommend that you under promise and over deliver. The last thing you want to do is tell a client it's going to be a month and then 3 months down the road you're still working on the project. That's no fun for anybody. So if you could put an estimated timeline on the project, on the actual bid itself, that's going to be helpful in more cases than not.